In August 2017, Yemeni police arrested a Malayali nurse named Nimisha Priya on border between Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Nimisha Priya was arrested while trying to leave the country after killing her husband, dismembering his body and throwing it in a water tank. The murder was committed by Yemeni citizen named Talal Abdul Mehdi. Along with Nimisha Priya, another nurse named Hanan was also arrested by police for helping to bury Talal's dead body. A young woman from India went to Yemen and killed a citizen there. Nationally, this news was covered by all the international media. But this is the news literally shocked two people in Kerala. One of them is Prema Kumari from Kollam Code in Palakkad district, Nimisha Priya's mother. The second man is Tommy Thomas from Todupuzha in Idukki district. This Tommy Thomas is none other than himself. He is Nimisha Priya's husband. If so, who was Talal Abdul Mehdi? Who was murderer in Yemen? And what really happened in Nimisha Priya case? Let's see through the video. This is Nila Ashok. You are watching Nakhe Nila. Nimisha Priya was born and raised in financially backward family in Kollam Code, Palakkad district, Kerala. Nimisha Priya, who completed her nursing diploma, went to Yemen in 2008 at the age of 19 to work. She had promised her mother Prema Kumari that all their bad days would end soon, and that she would return from Yemen only after the family finances improved. Upon arriving in Yemen, Nimisha Priya started working as a nurse in a hospital in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. A few years passed without any major problems. Gradually, her family financial situation also improved. That's how the family decided to get Nimisha Priya married. The groom was Tommy Thomas, a native of Todupuzha, Idukki, who worked as a supervisor in an orchard in Kollam Code. Nimisha Priya, who arrived in Kerala at the end of 2011, married Tommy Thomas and returned to Yemen with him in early 2012. When Tommy Thomas got a small job in Yemen, they started a new life there. They had a baby girl in December 2012. 2 years have passed. In 2014, Tommy Thomas returned home with his daughter. Nimisha Priya remained in Yemen, and everyone at hospital where Nimisha Priya worked had only good thing to say about her. A good-natured and sincere girl, Nimisha Priya also had complete faith in her ability, which is why she started thinking about starting her own clinic in Yemen. Nimisha Priya dreamed that if the venture was successful, her family circumstances would improve even more. When she told Tommy Thomas about this idea, he also fully agreed. However, according to the Yemeni law, a foreigner cannot start a company there alone. At least one Yemeni citizen must be a shareholder. Similarly, the license of the company can only be obtained in the name of a Yemeni citizen. That's how the Talal Abdul Mehdi entered their lives. Talal, a Yemeni citizen, ran a textile shop next to the hospital where Nimisha Priya worked. In addition, she looked after Talal's wife's delivery. Talal and his brother always sought treatment at the hospital where Nimisha Priya worked. That's how Nimisha Priya met Talal Abdul Mehdi. All this happened when Thomas was in Yemen, so he also knew Talal. As far as Talal was a good-natured young man, that was how Nimisha Priya and Tommy Thomas thought about taking a license in Talal's name. When Nimisha Priya told Talal about it, he also fully agreed. That is, Nimisha Priya and her husband would pay all the money required to start the clinic. But the license would be in Talal's name, so a small amount of profit would be given to Talal. It was out of his understanding that the decision to start the clinic was made. While everything was going smoothly, another problem arose. Abdul Latif, the owner of the hospital where Nimisha Priya worked, could not accept the Nimisha Priya's decision because Nimisha Priya was planning to start a new clinic right next to his hospital. Naturally, he objected. It later turned to a dispute. All this time, Talal acted as a mediator and tried to resolve the dispute. Efforts were made and finally the issue was settled with the agreement that Abdul Latif would be given 33% stake in the clinic. So Nimisha Priya, Tommy Thomas and Abdul Latif invested money and started the clinic. It is said that they had invested about 80 lakhs Indian rupee to start the clinic. They started it as a small clinic with 14 beds. But as soon as they started operating, they started getting good income from it. A few months passed like that, and it was a time filled with happiness in Nimisha Priya's life. The organization she had founded for the first time was a huge success and she was started to get a lot of money from that. Her husband and daughter back home were preparing to come back to Yemen. There were so many reasons to be happy. By then, Talal Abdul Mehdi was closer to Nimisha Priya. In fact, he was like a family member because Nimisha Priya was no longer an ordinary nurse, but the owner of an organization. Therefore, she had to have a good local support to get a stock and go to many places for everything. In 2015, Nimisha Priya arrived in Kerala from Yemen and Talal was with her. With Nimisha Priya out of a desire to see places in Kerala. When Talal arrived in Kerala, Tommy Thomas loved him like a member of the family and showed him around all the places. By February 2015, Nimisha Priya and Talal had returned to Yemen. Just as Tommy Thomas was preparing to leave with his daughter in a month, the civil war in Yemen began, putting their lives in crisis. The civil war intensified with each passing days. As a result, the Indian government brought back about 4,600 Indians from Yemen. But only a few Indians who had invested large sum of money in Yemen and started a business there did not return. Nimisha Priya was one of them. Tommy Thomas and his daughter remained in India after suspension of new visa to Yemen and closure of embassies. Yemen, where the civil war was raging, Nimisha Priya's only support was Talal, but gradually Talal's character began to change. He, who was staying in Takum, decided to make most of the opportunity. Because even during the war, it did not affect the clinic's operation and revenue began to increase day by day. Seeing this, Talal became greedy. He thought he was entitled to share the income from the company in his name. That's how Nimisha Priya sought Talal's help to do the paperwork for agreement related to the clinic shareholding. He took advantage of that opportunity and added his own name, Talal Abdul Mehdi, to the agreement along with Nimisha Priya Abdul Latif's name. According to that agreement, Talal was entitled to 33% of the share. Since the entire agreement was in Arabic, Nimisha Priya could not even recognize it. Later, when a new vehicle was purchased for the clinic, Talal registered in his name. This did not stop his greed. He took the cashier at the clinic that Talal should transfer Nimisha Priya profit share to his account. In short, 33% of profit went to Abdul Latif, 66% to Talal. In order to do this, he played under game. He told all the employees at the clinic, including the cashier, that he had married Nimisha Priya in India and that she was now his wife. Based on that, the cashier transferred Nimisha Priya profit share to Talal's account. Finally, after the money did not arrive in her account, Nimisha Priya asked the cashier about it and realized Talal's trick. With this, Nimisha Priya inquired directly with Talal about the matter. Talal's reply was that I did this to prevent you from having any more problem during the war, and that for now just tell everyone that you are my wife. In the following days, Talal's interference and restriction in the running clinic increases. In the meantime, he had done something else. When he went to Kerala, Talal had stolen a wedding photo from Tommy Thomas' house, namely the wedding photo of Nimisha Priya and Tommy Thomas. In that wedding photo, Tommy Thomas' face was morphed into Talal's. The name was also changed. Talal later used that photo to make a fake marriage certificate in Yemen. With this, Nimisha Priya became Talal's legal wife. She could only watch all this helplessly. She often gathered courage and tried to respond to Talal. With this, physical abuse also began. Talal had beaten Nimisha Priya several times in front of the clinic staff. With nothing else to do, Nimisha Priya filed a complaint with that Yemen police against Talal. But the police arrested both and put them in jail. The arrest was made on the ground of spreading riots. Finally, both ended up in jail after Talal presented the fake marriage certificate he had prepared in court. Not only did the court fail to find that it was a fake certificate, but the incident was tantamount to the court approving their marriage. This increased Talal's confidence and led to a series of torture. What happened next was that Nimisha Priya lived in a rented house. Talal, who used to come there drunk every day, would beat her up. Talal, who used to come with his friend often, started drinking at her house and so many nights. Nimisha Priya was forced to leave her place of residence and wandered through the street of war zone, including at midnight. In meantime, Talal took possession of her passport and with this Nimisha Priya became Talal's slave. Not only did she not receive any money from the company that she had invested, but also had to endure Talal's harassment. If she was told to call Tommy Thomas in country and tell him all these things, Talal would not agree to that either. If he saw her making secret phone call, he would throw the phone away and destroy the SIM cards. Yet Nimisha Priya secretly called Tommy Thomas and told him everything. For this, Nimisha Priya used total 27 SIM cards. As she destroyed each one, and she kept taking new SIM cards and sending messages, Nimisha Priya kept informing her husband about everything in a small voice notes. But since she could not travel to Yemen, Tommy Thomas could not do anything. At that time, the only person who knew the first hand about the torture of Nimisha Priya was another Yemeni nurse who lived in Yemen at that time. Nimisha Priya often took refuge in Hanan's house when Talal harassment reaches its peak. Nimisha Priya told her everything openly, but Hanan could not do much more than to comfort Nimisha Priya. In meantime, Talal would often be in jail, sometime on Nimisha Priya's complaint and sometime in name of money transaction with others. In short, it was Talal's way of making money by cheating people. Without realizing this, Nimisha Priya sought help to start a clinic. It was only when Talal was in jail that Nimisha Priya slept peacefully. Once she got out of jail, everything would be same. Months passed in this way. Finally, Nimisha Priya realized one thing. She could no longer oppose Talal, who had a local support. She would not get back the money she had invested in the clinic. She had to leave the country as soon as possible if she wanted to leave. But there was even a bigger problem. Talal had taken her passport. She could not leave the country without getting it back. Despite her repeated pleas, Talal was not ready to give her passport. Nimisha Priya would tell all this trouble to the jail warden, who came to her for clinical treatment. The jail warden clearly knew that Talal was likely feeling sorry for Nimisha Priya's condition. The jail warden gave her a way, that is, when a good opportunity arose, she should inject a drug into Talal's body. Talal should obey Nimisha Priya's order while half asleep. Only then should the dose be given. Only then could she ask Talal where the passport was hidden. Since she was a nurse, Nimisha Priya had a clear idea of what drug to inject for that purpose. So Nimisha Priya took the drug home and waited for a suitable opportunity in July 2017. One day, Talal entered Nimisha Priya's house in a drunken stupor. Nimisha Priya injected him with drug, but she was unable to wake Talal up, who was completely intoxicated. She waited for the next opportunity. Within a day or two, she got the next opportunity, but this time Talal arrived in the house using drugs. Seeing a good opportunity, Nimisha Priya injected the drug. Within the moment, Talal fell to the ground, writhing and screaming loudly. The scream lasted only a few seconds. Gradually, Talal's voice stopped, and when Nimisha Priya, who was frightened, checked his pulse, she realized the shocking truth. Talal Abdu Mehdi has died. The cause of death was likely a reaction to the drugs in his body and the medication injected by Nimisha Priya. Or while it is the truth that Nimisha Priya wanted to eliminate the nuisance of overdose Talal from her life, she did not think about committing a murder to do so. Nimisha Priya now realizes the truth that she is a murderer, even if she doesn't want to. She immediately ran to the house on ground floor and told Hanan everything that had happened. Hanan also came upstairs and checked Talal's pulse. She also realized that death had occurred. Hanan, who was an eyewitness to many of the abuses that Nimisha Priya experiences and knew firsthand about all the torture she suffered, decided to help Nimisha Priya. That's how they found a way to hide the dead body. The two of them used a surgical blade to cut the Talal's body into pieces. They then stuffed them into a stack and dumped them into the house water tank. They know that the police will find the dead body anyway and that they will be investigated. They had the intention of leaving the country within that time. That's why they hide the dead body in water tank. They didn't have the time for anything else. And after everything, the two of them left the house and traveled about 350 km route, reached the city called Aden. Aden is the city on border of Yemen and Saudi Arabia. Their plan was to enter the Saudi Arabia if they had got a good opportunity. But by then, a neighbor of Nimisha and Hanan had filed a complaint with this police. The complaint was that there was a foul smell coming from his neighbor's house and that he had not seen the two girls who lived there for several days. During the subsequent police investigation, body parts were found in water tank. At this time, all the Talal relatives and friends were searching for him. That's how we realize it was Talal who was murdered. In August 2017, Yemeni police arrested Nimisha Priya and Hanan while trying to enter Saudi Arabia. After that, news spread about Nimisha Priya that her Indian wife had been arrested because according to the fake marriage certificate made by Talal, Nimisha Priya was still his wife. When this news spread all over the world, Tommy Thomas and Nimisha Priya's mother, Prema Kumari in Kerala, realized the seriousness of the incident. After that, they made every effort to contact Nimisha Priya, but everything failed. Finally, Tommy Thomas and Prema Kumari realized what happened when Nimisha Priya called them from the prison. Nimisha Priya, a foreigner, had killed a Yemeni citizen. Therefore, she did not get any legal support in Yemen because Nimisha Priya's father's name was a Muslim name on the fake marriage certificate made by Talal. If it had been cross-checked with Nimisha Priya's passport, it would have been easy to find out that Nimisha Priya was not Talal's wife. However, the Yemeni court only considered the murder committed by Nimisha Priya. Naturally, none of the reasons leading to it were considered by the court. In 2018, when the trial court ruled, Nimisha Priya was sentenced to death and Hanan, who helped hide the dead body, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Nimisha Priya appealed against the verdict to the Supreme Court in 2020. The Supreme Court rejected the appeal, upheld the trial court's verdict. Nimisha Priya approached the Supreme Judicial Council of Yemen against this. In November 2023, the Supreme Judicial Council also rejected the appeal and finally went before the President with a mercy petition. On December 30, 2024, Yemeni President Rashid Al-Alimi rejected Nimisha Priya's mercy petition, and now the only way for Nimisha Priya to escape is blood money, meaning that the Shia-Sunni rule prevails. Yemen is a country where the Shia sector has a representation of 35% and Sunni sector has a representation of 65%. Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, where the murder took place, is a Shia Muslim. It's a representative place and they still follow Sharia law. According to the Sharia law, the amount demanded by Aries family is called blood money. If the family of the perpetrator is willing to pay, the accused can pardon and thus avoid the death penalty. That is the only way for Nimisha Priya to escape now. For the past few years, many human rights activists and organizations in Yemen and India have been trying to save Nimisha Priya. But so far, none of this effort have been successful. It's also unclear whether the victim family is ready to buy the blood money. Many prominent figures from India and abroad have came forward to say that if they are ready to buy blood money, they are ready to pay it. The execution date for Nimisha, initially scheduled for July 16, 2025, has been postponed following intervention by the Indian government and human rights activists. As a result, Nimisha has been granted additional time to continue the negotiation with Talal's family, with a new date yet to be announced. Nimisha Priya's fight is a cry for justice that we cannot ignore. If her story touched you, please like this video, share it and subscribe for more videos that deserve to be here. Together we can make a difference. Signing off, Neela Ashok.